I'd like to call the May 6th Facility and Finance Committee meeting to order. I think we have everybody here. Dean and Hal, welcome to the newly formed committee. Welcome everybody else. I'd like to say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the
flag of the United States of America.
Okay. I'd like to open the meeting for public participation. Do we have anybody? I only see
No, I don't think so. Just
12 people here. Amy, hey, Kathleen. Dan, Jessica, Abe, Tracy, Danielle, and Jenny. Okay. Closed participation. Review of the minutes. I didn't see anything. Hal, it looked pretty good to me.
No, I looked at it and I didn't see anything. It looked right on.
Okay. Moving on to financial review.
Great, thank you, Douglas. If I may share my screen. Great, can everyone see that? Thumbs up, Douglas. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dean. So as far as a financial review, it is that time of year where we begin the process of developing our budget. I'd like to review our revenues year to date. State funding has been timely as well as reliable. We are continuing to get our payments twice a month at $655,000. Year to date through April, we're at 11.8 million of the 14.4 million approved for EBF. As it relates to property taxes, there was the option to delay your property taxes. We are now caught up with the first payment. And overall, we're on track with our budget. We are 3/4 of the way through the fiscal year as it relates to this report through March 31st. And once the first payments from June come in for the upcoming extension, we will then be at 100% of our local revenue that is budgeted. Revenues that are not realized include food sales for obvious reasons. Due to our scale back program, we're not generating that revenue, so that will not be realized. One thing to note, our state transportation reimbursement, it's always a lag of a year. The reimbursement is for the claim that is filed the previous year. So what we will see with our claim, which is typically about $1.6 million next year, assuming, knocking on wood, return to normalcy, transportation services are fully back to scale. The expenses will be there, but the revenue won't, because the revenue will be based upon the reimbursement from this year, which is for obvious reasons scaled back. In reviewing our expenses, again, we are where we expect to be per the budget. We did see expected decrease in expenses for purchase services, specifically transportation and food services. We also saw reduced expenses in supplies and materials due to the time we were in remote and hybrid. We're not printing as much, things like that. Those supplies and materials have been a savings for this year. We do monitor our fund balance monthly, and you can see that, we'll move our pictures out of the way here. But when we receive our payment in June, it will spike again, and with going forward in September, it'll spike again with our 2 payments. So that'll put us where we need to be related to the fund balance. We are projecting a favorable fund balance by the year end.
I'm sorry, Abe, can you go back to the slide again? I just want to take a minute just to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Just give me a minute, sorry. It's a lot of information on here.
Now, when we begin the entire budget process, we'll go into a lot of this in detail starting next month. Just a high level review of how we're projecting ending the year.
Okay, I was looking at the prior year in March at 13. It's peanuts, but it's
It
okay.
is, these are the various funds, the educational funds, you know, on a bi-month basis. The red represents last year, the blue represents this year. We're tracking above where we were last year due to reduced expenditures. There are some expenses that will now be realized during the month of May and June. Some of the furniture expenses are going through now. That was part of the non-cap equipment that was approved. So some of that's coming through now. We're projecting perhaps 1.5 to 2 million surplus this year. Keep in mind, again, next year, we'll see that deficit in transportation as a result of the lag with reimbursement.
The other question I had, and maybe I to contact you offline, is you said that, you know, the transportation, the money's going to come in a year later, which is always the case. Does our current contract with the transportation with Durham allow us to scale back if we find out that there's only going to be, you know, 70% of the kids if we continue remote learning? Is there any flexibility in that contract?
Yeah, the contract is framed on a per route basis. So if we have less students being transported, it would mean fewer routes, which would translate to a future.
And they're flexible enough
to reduce cost to the district.
Got it. Sorry for everybody. And they're flexible enough because I think last meeting we said that there was no, you know what? It was funny because I was talking to a guy at the eyeglass place in Grays Lake, and he's a bus driver. And we started talking, and he says there's only sometimes 10, 15 kids on a bus. So, and they have the flexibility to mix up the routes and have less routes if you find that that's the
case. Throughout development, it's based on, you know, the total length, which sometimes you've got less kids because you're traveling further.
Sure.
Try and keep within a certain reasonableness as it relates to overall route time.
Okay.
That plays into it.
Okay. Thank you.
Abe, didn't we also have a situation where more kids said that they were coming in than actually came in too? So we had, I remember having that conversation where I think it was 2/3 of the kids said they were coming into school, but on a daily basis, we were seeing a lot less than that. So it's kind of hard to plan.
Right.
I don't know how you plan around that. But,
that's a good question, Kathleen. We essentially run our routes daily, independent of that. So we're able to capture any and all kids that are at the stop at any given day. So that assures us that we're transporting all our students.
Yeah, it kind of provides that flexibility and yeah. Okay, all right.
Any further questions, Douglas, on this slide?
Oh, thank you.
So looking forward to 2021-2022 fiscal year, June 1st, I will present to you the first draft summary of our budget. In July, we'll go over a second draft. August, we have planned to present a tentative budget for approval to the Board of Education. In September, we're planning to have the annual public hearing on the budget, the adoption of the budget, as it is due to ISB as well as our tax extension office by then. Yep. So that's all I had, Douglas, for that agenda item.
You can just roll into the class parking.
Okay. So thank you, Douglas. This was an item you had recommended for conversation on. It kind of lends itself into a broader conversation about the master plan. And we were there prior to the pandemic. We're talking about the master plan and what are the future opportunities for our facilities. And I think until we get to a long-term state of normalcy, I don't know if we want to go back to the master plan and revisit that until we know what the new normalcy looks like. We don't want to design and construct until we realize what that is. And by the way, there were elements that were needs within that plan. So at some point, we will have to come back to that. But in the very near term, we want to continue to look at central and parking capacity, which has been an ongoing issue. And so I had the opportunity to meet with the director of the park district, Kristen Split. And so in having a conversation with her about what some of the future plans are for the park district, what their needs are, we had a thought, and Douglas, you had suggested this as perhaps something to look into. But sure enough, this maintenance facility that the park district owns, it's got to be 70+ years old. It is a liability for them. They are considering having to do something with that building, as it is such a great liability. Now, the overall footprint, it's about maybe a bit larger than this $2 lot. Not as efficient because it's a triangle. There are some environmental concerns with the soils and whatnot. Certainly, it could be potentially a future parking lot to supplement what we have and to provide that additional capacity. We have an opportunity to perhaps talk about, sharing spaces within the two entities. As you know, we've got that commercial property. We've got our own little decrepit shed over here. And so that could be an opportunity for a conversation with the park district about perhaps sharing spaces and meeting both our needs. For us, it would allow us to maximize parking at Central. For them, they could have a site appropriate for their needs, and a facility that is modern and safe, and addresses some of that deferred maintenance in the existing facility. So we did have that conversation, very preliminary, just a thought. Sometimes things begin with just a thought. And so we'd like to pursue this a bit further. We'd like to conduct a very preliminary site investigation on that lot and do a cost study with our architect to see what that would mean commitment-wise, cost commitment-wise to us. So with that, what are your thoughts?
So just in a ballpark way, Abe, what are you talking about in terms of predicted costs for this exercise? I know it's early, but any idea?
Yeah, predicted costs for this exercise, I would assume under 5,000, to get our architect engaged and involved to run some conceptual, estimates, to look at square footages for, a parking lot, perhaps a permeable parking lot. Much of it is pervious right now. So from a water management standpoint, we may have to look at different alternatives. But I'm guessing it'd be around that, Dean,
Okay.
to do a scope review.
Have they told you why it's such a liability? Just its age, or is there
If you drive
some
past
other?
it's it's shored up with plywood on the outside. It's it's just not. It's showing its age. It's being 70 years old. The mortar, the brick, it needs tuck pointing. It needs a roof. The pavement needs to be addressed. Salt and concrete don't mix well with one another, and so they basically need to rejuvenate this particular area.
Would it be a land swap effectively, or would we lease from the park district and effectively lease them the space we would be considering to replace it?
It could be that, Dean. There's a lot of possibilities. Potentially, it could be a lease agreement that sundowns after 20 years, where each entity has some flexibility to know what the new landscape looks like down the road, where each entity could pivot. There could be a clause as a reopener, at some point as well. But definitely, it would be framed as an IGA that would benefit both entities, and there'd be balance as it relates to the cost and benefit for both.
Okay.
Any other board members or Hal have any comments?
No, I mean, I'd be curious to see that. I mean, there's things that it seems like it's premature to even ask about, but so I'll wait and see what we get from the preliminary study, and when the time's appropriate, I'll ask some further questions.
So the committee kind of gives the okay to go ahead with that preliminary?
Oh, I think it's absolutely essential that we consider it.
Okay. I thank you, Abe. This is wonderful. I know I just get a little bit excited when you first brought this up. So great. Thanks, Abe, for doing that.
Here's a very strange question, but the house that's immediately next to the $2 lot is for sale.
I know. Well, that's my.
This
So,
one?
yeah, that one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that would be 50% of the lot size is 50% of the $2 lot,
Yeah.
but it's expensive.
We did pursue this previously, Dean, purchasing, I think, all 3 or multiple lots. We had a holdout. You know, there's some challenges
Yeah.
with purchasing a residential property and rezoning it. You know, it's certainly something we can discuss, obviously, you know, and look into further. Yeah, we have to just discuss like the legal ramifications of a school district purchasing, you know, land. I have to double check, you know, what that would require on our end from a disclosure standpoint and approval standpoint. And secondly, look into what it would take to rezone it. And again, you know, if we're thinking of parking lot, we'd have to think about permitting and what the implications are with.
But the permitting process would be the same between us and conversion of the maintenance facility, though. I mean, it's not residential. It is commercial,
Right.
but it's similar.
Yeah, it wouldn't have to be rezoned, but yeah, it would
Ah.
go through a permit process. It would
Okay.
be a construction project, correct?
I
I
would.
believe, is it by owner, by the way, Dean and Douglas?
I didn't see a realtor sign. I saw a for
You
sale.
couldn't find it on any realtor websites.
Yeah.
I did see like the by owner sign.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But I'd like to see that as well. I know that's a lot of work as well, but I'd like to open up that discussion too.
And isn't the third house over also for sale?
Right. So it's the one right next to it, and then there's one over there's those two. Yeah, on the outsides of First Street.
I'm muted. What do we consider the shortage? How much extra parking do we actually require when things are, you know, running?
What would be ideal, Hal, is if we could essentially have something the size of the $2 lot in addition, as
Okay.
an addition. Or 2/3 to an entire square footage of that amount.
Okay, no, that's good. Thank you.
If I can say something, what I like about this option with the park district is that it uses something that is away from homes and that uses something that is there. I do like that idea. We have looked at using homes, you know, purchasing homes before, but it would change that landscape and that part of the neighborhood by adding more pavement. And not everyone that isn't what everyone in that neighborhood is looking for. I don't know. But it is also a flooding area. I mean, that area has flooded. So it's hard to know. So if someone wants to get out of that, then there could be opportunity too. So anyway, I didn't really add a lot to that, but I do like the idea of of working with the park district to get the spaces that are needed.
Abe, I have a question. In the lot, the $2 lot, how many parking spots are in there? Do we know? I mean, I'm counting here.
Yeah, you know, I did have that number previously.
Like
80?
80?
That's what I'm guessing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
Why does 85 stick in my head?
85?
75-ish, 80.
75-ish?
Yeah.
Okay. And the Grace Lake District maintenance area, I mean, that seems pretty small. Well, anyway, I guess we'll find out more as we go along, but okay.
It actually extends up to this corner, the entire
Oh,
lot. They
it-
recently installed new fencing, which represents the true size of that entire.
okay. All righty. Well, then that would be interesting then. Okay. Okay, thanks.
So are we kind of looking at kind of pursuing, preliminary on both of those options?
We certainly can, Douglas. We can inquire
Okay.
as to the cost, and I can do an investigation as far as what it would take for a school district to procure residents and to convert that into school property, what it would mean. I can bring that information back to the committee at a future date.
Thank you.
Can certainly go back if there's any other questions.
I think we're good. Any more questions on the parking? Okay. I guess the COVID-19 update.
Indeed. Mikkel, would you like to add anything related to what you've been working on recently?
Yeah, I mean, as far as COVID, not much to report other than hopefully you saw the email that came out. We have been able to partner with Jewel Osco, and they're going to be coming out to hopefully vaccinate some of our kids on May 18th at Central and 19th at North, and then 3 weeks later to dose 2. So everything is up and running. If people want to register, they can. We're just kind of waiting for the possible emergency use authorization from the FDA. They would allow the Pfizer vaccine to be used on 12 to 15-year-olds. What they've told me is as soon as that, they're anticipating next week, I think. As soon as that is done, the registration, right now there's a big button that says, oh, are you 16 or over? That'll change and they'll allow 12 and over to register. So just going with that, we're seeing how who's signing up and we'll go from there. But it was a remarkably easy process, knowing everything that went into the Round Lake site. Actually, this came through one of our nurses, Annie at Grays Lake North, was talking with their contact at Jewel about meningitis vaccine. And they said, hey, do you want a COVID vaccine site? Sure. A 15-minute call later and we're set. It was crazy. So good things, and we'll keep you updated for sure.
Well, Mikkel, you're being very modest, and maybe it was very easy, but I think it's yet again another example of the leadership of you and your team of being, just on top of it and well connected.
Thanks. And it came from our nurses. They brought the opportunity for us, and between a few of us came together and figured it out. They made it easy. So thank you.
That's amazing. Thank you.
That's really all I have as far as a COVID update.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mikkel. New business, the Grab and Go and NutriSlice app. That's exciting. Cool.
Yeah, so something a bit more lighthearted. Grab and Go stations. It's kind of timely going to a block schedule for next year. We may have students, right, Tracy, that may opt out of lunch, want an extra class or more study time, but they'll still be hungry and still need a meal. Snack lunches are an option, through the cafeteria. Other high schools, districts haven't been as successful with those, but these grab and go stations seem to be very popular amongst high schools. And in discussing with the admin team, we're proposing a couple of different locations at each of the high schools. At North, so this is the main entrance at North, this being the main office and Dr. Roscoe's office. This station would be right across the hall from there. And the secondary location would be right in between the two gyms. And speaking with the school administrative team, those seem to be the best locations. And obviously, we can move and pivot and change and add additional stations or the size of the stations. The grab and go could be touch and go, as they say, as well. And in looking at Central, the location we propose here on the first floor, just to orient you, this being the bus pickup, this is the north. This being the bus pickup on the first floor, we propose a location. We're actually able to use some storage capacity within this space and have a station there. And then in the second floor, right outside the administrative offices for Central, we've identified this as a potential location as well.
Are these refrigerated kiosks? Or what's involved with the station?
It depends on the station, Hal. To begin with, we may go with just simple carts that are not refrigerated.
Okay.
And it's going to be based on demand. Again, we're going to see what sort of appetite our students have. It could be entire meals to go. It could be, a carton of milk or water or a snack. Could be a lot of different things. And we look forward to kind of testing this out and finding a good balance with what the students can benefit from.
Yeah, I'm guessing if you go with milk, obviously you will need some sort of refrigeration.
Yeah. Correct. Yep. You are correct with that, Hal.
Are you going to outline what the nutrition is of this? What it is, what the food is?
And it kind of lends itself into the next conversation related
Okay, thank you.
to NutriSlice and this new software program that we're looking into.
Thank you.
So before we go into NutriSlice, any questions about the grab and go concept?
What hours, is this going to be something that's just during lunch hours, or would this be extended before and after as well?
We talked about before and after. It's something we've tried in the past, but I think, given new conditions we have today, I think there's an opportunity to offer this during after school programs as well. We have discussed that.
Okay, we'll move on to the app. There's no more questions. Kathleen? Okay.
This is right up Hal's alley. So NutriSlice. So this is a solution that's going to allow us to adapt how we operate our food services into the future. Less contact while ordering. We can automate our food ordering operations. We can upload our menus to this site as well as the app. Nutritional information, Amy asked the question, nutritional information will be available as folks select different items with pictures of what they're ordering as well. It's going to allow us to order to multiple sites, including these grab and go stations. If anyone who's used Grubhub or DoorDash, it's very similar to that concept. The first year cost with setup would be $82.36 with an ongoing annual cost of $59.94.
I'm assuming that the highlight there in near the green where it says delivery to an individual classroom won't be supported.
It is an option, perhaps with our staff as well, staff meetings and the like. It's within the realm of possibilities. This software gives us that flexibility to adapt our operations.
Okay.
So, can you go back to the cost again? Is it? I'm sorry.
Yep. The detailed breakdown is in the board packet, but the first year cost with all the programming and setup to get us going, it's $8,236 for both high schools.
Both high schools, got it.
And then ongoing, the annual cost would be $5,994.
Okay.
So we will bring this to the board for formal approval. So we'll have that opportunity to review it then again.
Any other questions?
The obvious question is, what competitors were evaluated when you came up with this recommendation?
Dean, we went with just the solution, to be honest, just the solution. It's prevalent amongst many of the high schools in the area. and speaking with Airmark and whom they've used and what systems would work with their point of sale systems as well. We wanted to have it integrate with our contract service existing systems. This is the solution that was recommended.
That's fine. I just wanted to get a little bit of your thought process for this.
Mhm.
Anybody else?
Do you know what specific schools in the area might be using this right now?
I have a list of schools, Hal, I can send you. We asked for references. We did get a list.
And did you get any kind of feedback from these schools when you asked?
Just, generally speaking, generically speaking, nothing negative about the software. I can certainly get you the feedback that we received, a summary of all of that, Hal, we can send to you.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
The other thing that might be interesting is how much has this been used in those ones, because if the uptake is 10%, it's difficult to consider something like this. But if it's 90% of the students are using it, it's great.
Mhm.
Anybody else? Pretty exciting. Okay.
Stop sharing my screen. That's all I had to share. They're just agenda items I can talk through at this point.
Right. The Board of Education meeting dates.
Yes, so the dates that are recommended are in the packet. Thank you, Jenny, for putting that all together. The dates align with our board meeting dates. It also aligns with, it allows us to adhere to our budget deadlines as well as the tax levy deadlines as well.
Yeah, they look fine to me. It's pretty standard from year to year, so good.
March dates, how does that align with spring break? Usually spring break happens right around March 24th.
I believe spring break's the last week of March this year or next year.
Next year, yeah.
I'm just pulling that up, Dean.
Thank you.
Dean, I go through the calendar and look at all sorts of school holidays, other religious holidays that we're trying to stay off of. So all of the meeting dates are either usually before or after our large school holidays.
Thank you.
That one appears to
Good
be
to know.
before spring break.
It's already been scrubbed. I don't need to, I can remove my comment.
That's okay. It's the week of the 28th of March.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Good questions. And last but not least, I'm sorry, is the recommendation to approve the 2022 school treasurer bond renewal. So.
Thank you, Douglas. The bond has to be at least 25% of the funds that are available at any given time to the treasurer. So that amounts to $16 million and comes at a cost of $18,000. It's in line with the cost from previous years.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with that. If that seems like it's a legal obligation, and
It is.
certainly, insurance policy as well as the bond. So.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. And I don't think we have a need to go into closed session unless I'm mistaken.
No need.
No need. Great. And anybody want to add anything to future F&F meetings or board meetings? Okay, I take that as a no. Okay. Well, at that point, I think we're going to adjourn at 7:05.
Okay.
I think Amy stepped away for a minute, so maybe. Oh, Amy's not the chair anymore. I forgot. Excuse me, sorry.
The new sheriff in town.
That's okay. It'll give me a minute to switch meetings.
No, don't worry. I just want to quickly say, I have sometimes have trouble with my Zoom, and since I'm asked to have a former chair committee, if things go sideways really bad, Amy, you are deputized to jump in so that everybody else doesn't have to sit for 20 minutes.
I may or may not have everything in front of me.
This is the in case of
I'm good.
emergency. Usually it's
I'm good.
about 2 to 3 minutes and it'll be fine. Yeah.
We're good. We're good. I got you, Aaron. We're good.
All right.
Aaron, whenever you're ready, I'm ready. Go ahead.
All right. Jay, Amy, are you guys ready? Does anybody want a 5-minute break?
Good.
I'm good.
All right. Let's go. Program Policy and Personnel Committee meeting comes to order at 7:06 p.m. And Amy is here and Jay is here. I see both of you. And we have a few other board members and of course, Board President Bethany Holland Wassick. All right. Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Item 3, public participation. I don't see any public, and Mikkel's shaking his head, so I think we are good. All right. Next up, review meeting minutes from April 8th, 2021. Amy, Jay, did you have anything?
They look fine to me.
Yep,
Amy
same.
says they're fine. Jay's got a thumbs up. All right. We're good. All right. Moving on to continuing business and the COVID update.
I don't think we have anything
Really?
additional, right, Mikkel?
No, not too much. I don't know if Aaron or Jay were there. It's a
They were not.
very brief. Okay, very brief COVID update. Nothing really new to report other than sent out emails to our families. We're going to have vaccine sites stood up at Great Lake Central on the 18th, Great Lake North on May 19th, and then 3 weeks later for the Pfizer vaccine. Right now, it's just open to 16 and over, but we're hopeful that it'll be open to 12 to 15-year-olds next week, at which time 12 to 15-year-olds will be able to register. So we will see how that goes. We have this time up to 500 vaccines per campus. We'll see if we get that much. If they seem very flexible, if there's more demand, we'll the opportunity and provide more appointments. So good news. I'll keep you updated.
Mikkel, I confess I didn't read the memo very closely. I saw that it was going out to students. If not enough sign up, is it being offered to families as well, or just students?
Well, I mean, we targeted students, but if families sign up for it, we're not going to stop them. There's no way we can. I mean, it's a community
If they
thing.
show up,
Love
they
our
show
students,
up.
100%. Yeah. So if you know somebody who needs to get a vaccine, that is an easy opportunity for sure.
So I could take your email, copy it and put it in our internal list group within the community.
You can. I mean, no one's going to stop you. I would like to see how many students we can get.
Students
I have
first.
a
I won't
feeling
do
we're
it.
not. To be
Yeah.
honest, I have a feeling we're not going to come close to 500, but I'm hopeful I'm
Okay,
wrong.
there's a limit.
But
That's fine.
yeah, I'll
Thanks.
keep you updated on kind of where we're at with enrollment. For
Yep.
sure.
I mean, right now they're directing everybody to the fairgrounds. There's appointments available there. There's appointments at Kmart's, old Kmart site, and Waukegan. Those right there are opportunities.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Again, with the
okay.
vaccine and people being hesitant, just trying to provide an easy opportunity in a place they're comfortable with. And here you go. Here's the vaccine. Please take
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Thank you for answering it.
And I saw the email and it said that Walgreens is managing everything.
Yeah, it's Jewel. Yeah, they are sending
I'm
all the vaccinators. I mean, the website, the link to register, they sent us that. They set up the appointments. We're providing very, very minimal staffing, probably meaning me, and anybody else who wants to be there, you know, to possibly take copies of insurance cards and just get people to their 15-minute, you know, cool down place. But they're taking care of all the heavy lifting, so really appreciate it.
Yeah, like making sure that that vaccine stays viable because of the
Right.
temperature requirement. That's kind of what I'm
Right.
thinking about. So they're managing all of that.
And they're doing, I mean, they're doing, when we called the representative from Jewel, she was at a site right then, and they're going to schools all over the place. So she said, next week you don't have any appointments, but how about the week after? Sure, that would be great. How about the 18th? Okay. And it was about that easy, literally. So lots of thanks to Abe and Danielle and Mike and Meg, Mike Brzezilski, Meg Light, and our nurses, Annie and Julie. Hopefully I didn't forget anybody. Let me know if I did, but good stuff.
No, it's a great opportunity, and especially now that it's May, our seniors are 18. And so maybe if they're in a situation where mom and dad's not going to let them do it, they now legally have the right to choose on their own. And this is an opportunity for that.
If they are adults, they make that choice.
So that's wonderful.
Okay.
Anybody else? All right. All right, new business. So we have field trips, none at this time.
Yes.
But we have a field trip discussion because we know that it is on the horizon.
Yeah.
Tracy?
Yeah. So as I think most everyone in this room recalls vividly, we had to cancel some field trips last March, reschedule them again. So we've been through a journey together around international travel and cancellations. And so we know that, as Erin said, it is on the horizon that we will start getting some field trip requests again. And while I don't see international requests coming in the immediate term, we will start getting some requests. I already have one on my desk for locally developed field trips. The one on my desk is for our band group to go to Disney next February. And so these requests are going to begin coming forth. So I wanted to let you guys know what some of our conversations have been around that, some of the administrative procedure things that we are working on to help alleviate any questions parents might have around what might happen financially should the trip be canceled. So in your packet, you have for reference a travel notice that we worked together with our lawyer to draft. And this would be included for anyone participating in international travel or any trip where a outside company is facilitating that trip. So any of our international trips through exploring world cultures or world languages, or any of our international trips that happen that go through a company, we would use this letter, and parents would need to sign this as a part of the field trip packet prior to signing up for the trip. Just kind of indicating, and you can of course read at any time here, but essentially saying that their agreement is not with the school. They are signing an agreement with this travel company, and the school's not liable for financial loss should the trip need to be canceled for health or safety reasons. So we are working on a similar letter that would be more tailored to our internal trips, and perhaps pointing out to parents that there are outside organizations, should they like outside insurance, to pad, and they can visit these companies, this list of companies perhaps, but that ultimately for the same thing, if we had to cancel a trip for health and safety reasons, that the district's not liable to reimburse them for monies not refunded. So wanted to just bring you up to speed on kind of this administrative conversation and get your position on, you know, are you at a place where you can start considering these trips with this kind of additional information to parents, or where you guys are thinking?
I'll start. I definitely think that we need to have language in place. We need to have something with insurance. We need a guarantee. We know that parents have opted out of insurance and then have ended up in a corner and then haven't fully understood what the ramifications have been. So having things built in, having it built into the costs, having things put up front, I think is going to be really critical for things going forward. I do think it is important to have something for international, but also for these domestic trips.
Mhm.
Some of these domestic trips we have are expensive. They can be anywhere from Florida to Alaska to New York.
Mhm.
Something to Peoria, maybe not,
Right.
but you know, so just different levels that are appropriate for the trips. But everyone should know upfront what the costs are and have something in place. I think it's important. So I'm okay with considering trips again, but I think these things need to be in place. And if somebody has having something opt out if they're able to provide their own insurance, I think that's reasonable, but they have to be able to show proof of it.
Yeah, or at least let them know that they have the option to purchase insurance. If they choose not to, that's their choice, and the district can't reimburse them for monies lost, right?
Right. However, we did that before, kind of, and they still didn't completely understand it.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, we've never had anything this explicit
Yeah.
drafted and asked them to read and sign.
Anyway,
Tracy-
but that's just my first thought.
Yeah.
Tracy, when we were talking about this a year ago, you seemed rather, to me, it seemed emphatic that insurance would be mandatory.
Yeah, so when you travel internationally, there was 3 levels of insurance. They had to purchase one of the 3. So there's the different levels, which of course had different accompanying costs and then had different reimbursement rates. So they did purchase one of 3 levels of insurance, but
Okay,
if you purchase the lowest level of insurance, then obviously you lost the most money.
okay. And then domestically, the requirements aren't quite as stringent then?
Yeah, domestically, we haven't required, there's been no insurance requirement. Now, the band trip sitting on my desk right now, they did roll in some insurance, $100 policy into the cost of the trip, but that's not something that that's been applied across the board. So I wanted to become more consistent. I want to have something that we've developed with our attorneys that we apply when parameters dictate consistently across the board. So that's what we're working on internally.
Tracy, if I remember correctly, what got people very upset is that the school district canceled it.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And the company we know will never cancel it. They'll just. Oh. Kathleen, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Your volume's gone.
It completely gone?
I can hear you now.
You can hear me now? Okay.
Yeah.
So as long as they know that we still have the option to cancel this, I know you had it in there. It's kind of at the bottom. But if I do remember, they got very upset because they felt that we were taking away their right to cancel.
Right.
And so that was a major hurdle for them to get over.
Mhm.
And so I noticed kind of towards the end of the document that we put that, but if I remember correctly, it was kind of one of their leading issues that They were blaming on you, Tracy, for making
Yes.
a good call. I remember you sat there and
Yes.
had to take it. So it's just something I wanted to point out because that was an important part of this. And what their perception was is that they had lost control of it and they didn't realize that we had to make a decision, not just for their children, but for the safety of the entire group. And
Yep.
so I think that needs to be explicit.
Yeah.
Or maybe a little bit brought up a little bit more so that they understand that our role, we do have a role in this.
Bring
That's
it
just
to
the only point
bring
I
it to
want,
the top of the letter.
kind of lead with the important.
Okay.
Okay, not that it isn't all important, but okay.
Yeah. Yep. Duly noted. Thank you. Okay. Then we will continue our work on that end in finalizing this language, and trips that come forth will need to include, if they're approved by the board, we'll need to include the language that we land with prior to parents signing up for that trip.
Okay, and Jay, did you have anything?
Nothing new to add at this time.
Okay. Any other board members? Just want to make sure. I know this was a big topic last year, so. Okay.
Getting twitches.
Well, and Kathleen made a really good point that, there is something to be said that in hindsight, the one trip that we had, by the time the trip actually came about, the country had sealed its borders. And so there, how that would have been handled, we don't know. So, but moving forward, we can't assume that.
Right.
All right. Anything else?
Nope, not on the
All
field
right.
trip topic.
All right. Down to the consolidated district plan, Tracy.
So you'll find a memo in your packet outlining the consolidated district plan. You might recall that in the last couple of years, the state changed the way we apply for title grants. And prior to applying for title grants, now we have to submit a plan for how we intend to spend those monies. We have to seek board approval to spend in that way. And the state has to approve it before we can get access to the applications. So what you see here is the outline of how we intend to spend our Title I and our Title II monies next year. We're pretty consistent in how we spend these monies each year. Title I goes to fund our AIM program. Typically at Grays Lake North, the last couple of years, only North qualifies for Title I. So all of the monies are spent toward the North program, but of course, the district then funds the Central program just as fully. And then Title II grant is a grant that is only to be used for staff development. It is only to be used for teachers and members of the SST staff. So that is how we will spend those monies, workshops, speakers, professional development events, and that's how we spend that money each year. And then we always collaborate with Westlake. This is part of the information we include in our consolidated district plan, that we have in fact collaborated with Westlake. We by law need to collaborate with private schools within our boundaries that would go to Grays Lake High School District, or have students that would go to Grays Lake High School District. And so we do collaborate with Westlake. Last year, they chose not to participate in Title I. They've expressed an interest though for next year in doing that. And so we will continue as always to collaborate with Westlake. So at the next board meeting, this recommendation will come forth, and hopefully you'll approve our ability to spend the monies in this way. And then I can submit it to the state, and then hopefully in the near future, gain access to the applications and begin the application process.
All right. Amy, Jay, anybody, any comments? Questions? Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, and it's going to a good cause when you talk about AIM, so.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on, 2021, 2022 proposed board and committee meeting dates.
Yeah, so we reviewed the calendar, planned backwards, looking at the FTE staffing, when those decisions need to be finalized, all the budget deadlines, avoided all of our holidays, and put together this list of dates for committee and board.
Right, we just talked about some of that. I think everybody was on the conversation in F and F. Any additional questions, comments?
Nope.
All right. E, 2022 Ombudsman contract review.
Yeah, I'll kick this over to Mark.
All right, as you guys might remember, this is our Ombudsman educational services contract. Every year we go and we hold 6 seats for some of our students. And this is not a special ed placement, but it is for students who may not find the typical classroom to be the easiest place to finish off their education. And so what they can do is they go for 3 hours in the morning or in the afternoon, work on their classes at Ombudsman, get help from their educators there. And then once they're done there, they can go to work or whatever else that they have set up for the rest of the day. We've usually used anywhere between 5 and 6 seats at all times. And we were a little bit worried that it wasn't going to be the same because they did shut down the Mundelein campus last year and moved everything to Waukegan. And we were kind of concerned that some of our students wouldn't be able to get there. And we were wrong. They did get there. They allowed in-person learning through much of the COVID time. So it was a good alternative for, a few of our kids. This year, the total price is $43,224, which is about $1,260 more than last year.
Okay, yeah. I asked Trace this before, but you really think that we're going to be consistent and still need 5 to 6 seats this year? There might not be an uptick with everything else going on.
We can do, we can always go for more seats if we need to. They allow us to pay like a month by month thing. It's a little bit more expensive, but it's not as expensive as having too many seats at the beginning and paying for those throughout the school year.
So Mark, have you been tracking the success rate of these kids that go there and how well they do?
I don't have those numbers ready. We do get reports on them every month to see where they're at. And then those reports, if a student's not being successful, if they're not showing up or their attendance rate is poor, then we come back and have a team meeting here and figure out another way that they can earn their education. So going to Ombudsman is students that go, it has to be, they're vetted through a team and the student has to have buy-in through that. And if they're not buying into it, then they give up their seat. And if someone's waiting, the next person goes in.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Anyone else? All right. I think we're good. All right, 7, board policy review. Tracy, take it away.
Yeah, so these 6 policies are from section 2 and are all a part of our internal review process. You'll find your memo in your packet. Just to refresh everyone's memory, we are going through our internal process until the next press issue is released, which will happen in June at some point. And then we'll kind of pause our internal review, go through all of the new changes that happen as a result of legislative changes, and then we'll return to our internal review. If you guys are okay with these policies as they stand, they will go right into the consent agenda at the next meeting, and I will simply update the review date in press. If we want to change any of them, then we'll go through the normal first read, second read process. Okay. So first policy, 2.240, board member qualifications. You guys saw any concerns with that policy?
You got a thumbs up from Jay, and Amy is shaking her head like this is all good. So
yeah, these are all pretty recent too, right? 2019 or 2020 dates on them. So pretty recently reviewed. All right, 250, board member term of office.
thumbs up, and yeah, I think that's one that we don't really have a lot of say about, do we?
No. Uh, 260, board member removal from office.
Okay, thumbs up from Amy, thumbs up from Jay.
270, vacancies on the board, filling vacancies.
Thumbs up, we are good.
Okay. The next one, 280, we are all very familiar with at this point, the board member oath of office.
Tracy, would you mind reading it for us? Refresh my memory.
No.
Someone like to recite it by memory. And what year was it?
I will sing it and record it and send it to all of you. How about that?
Oh, it's a good thing it's a good thing you guys didn't have any of us sing that.
It'll be today's top hits.
Or try to do it together.
Oh, a choral.
I'm glad we didn't
Choral
try to do that
opportunity.
together.
I think it'd be more appropriate to be a rap.
Yeah, I like that.
Anyway.
I was thinking of Gregorian chant,
Tibetan throat singing monks?
Oh,
something like that. Yeah, dude.
it's
Too
good we
soon,
can
all of
laugh
you.
about it.
Hold on a second, guys. Would I be leading that charge? No,
Yes.
not happening. It would be even worse.
Oh,
Oh, no.
it's a good thing we can laugh about it.
Yes,
Oh
and
my
judging by
goodness.
that, I think we're good with the policy, but again, it's not like we can change the oath.
Right.
No. Although, never mind. I'm
If they're
gonna be
taking
quiet now.
feedback, right?
We can always add more.
No.
Okay, and the last one, 2100, board member conflict of interest.
Right. Amy says good. Jace is good. And yeah, another one that we really can't change.
Right. Yeah, section 2 is pretty prescribed. Okay, and that's it for policy.
All right. And we do not have a need to go into closed session, correct?
Correct.
All right. Personnel recommendations.
Yes, thank you,
Right,
Erin. Thanks, Erin. Yeah, so 'tis the season, right? HR is quite a buzz these days, right? We have some new and exciting recommendations to hire before you this evening. We also have some resignations before you, and just a few that I'd like to kind of point out and double click on for a moment. Josh Peterson, as you notice, has officially resigned. He's going to be a middle school principal at Wakanda. So we are thrilled for him, excited to support him. He has given over a decade of leadership experience here at Grays Lake and many more in the teaching capacity. So we are excited for Josh and wish him well. Also, you will notice we are hiring Amy Bouchard, and that name may sound familiar. Amy was a previous paraprofessional for us, a cafeteria monitor, and unfortunately she had to take a moment and choose herself and get well. And now she is well enough to come back and work. So we are thrilled to welcome Amy back to our family. So she will begin with us again this fall. So just a wonderful story. Also, Angel Clark, she is our latest recommendation for our executive functioning interventionist at Grays Lake North. She was our social work intern and literally changed lives of children during her internship. And so typical Jim, Jeff, Meg, Tina style, right? They found this great spot for Angel to join the intervention team as a social worker. It is just going to round out that team in such a dynamic and incredible way. So hats off to that hiring team and hats off to Angel. She is just, I say it too often, but she is truly a unicorn. So we are over the moon to invite her to our night family. And then you'll notice just a few internal paraprofessional shifts. We love to advance the careers of our internal staff, moving them from one-to-one positions where their position is really dependent on student attendance to a more consistent paraprofessional in the classroom to oversee many children in our special education department. So just some great celebrations there and the recommendations to hire. And then resignations, we see this, right? This time of year, we get a lot of our coaches saying, oh boy, can't swing it again next year for different reasons. I have to pivot away from coaching. Thank you for the opportunity. And the new coaches to come. So if there's any questions on personnel, I'm happy to answer them. Other than that, pretty straightforward, and you'll see probably a longer list next week. Each day we are offering new positions. So excited to bring forth another batch of new family members here for us soon.
I was shocked to see Coach Fish in the list, but because he's done such great work with the boys up there.
I know. Yep. These are all often very challenging, right? Some of these resignations just, get ya.
Like the athletic coaches, this has been a very difficult year, so.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, I think that closes out personnel, right,
Yeah,
Danielle?
that's all. I'm sorry, Erin. Yep, that's all.
Okay. Did we lose Erin?
All right, sorry about that. Everybody's
Oh.
frozen, so I can't. We're at the last topic, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Topics. Oops, I just crashed.
Oh,
We can hear you.
Amy, you might have to step in.
Yeah.
Topics for next committee board meetings or meetings.
Okay.
Sorry about.
Oh, she's back.
Sorry.
I don't think anyone had anything for next board meetings,
Okay.
but they can speak up if they'd
Support.
like.
I get a thumbs up from Jay. Yeah, and I assume that the program personnel and policy staff is very, very busy for the fall school year, so. So anyways, then I guess it's time to adjourn.
Great.
It is 7:36 p.m. 7:37.
Wonderful.
Easy. Nice.
Great.
Well, thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you. Good night,
Great job.
everybody.
Everybody.
Evening.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.